Hey everybody, what's happening? Neil back once again with another Hindsight streaming review for you. And this time around I have Critical Role's The Legend of Vox Machina. Yeah, so we have a 12-episode series here on Prime Video, and yes, I'm going to spoil the hell out of this show, just to let you know, so spoilers, heads up. And also, I'm not going to talk about everything. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that happens in a few episodes that we can skip over. I don't want to make this review way too long, otherwise no one will listen. So yeah, well, let's make it as short as we can. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to basically start by mentioning that, I know nothing about these characters. I never saw the Dungeons & Dragons web series that it's apparently based on. It's campaign 1 of a Dungeons & Dragons story. It's very adult. This is not a cartoon for kids. It's very adult, very, a lot of sex jokes and a lot of sex and, well, more violence than anything, I would say. I think the violence and the swearing, too. So it's all there, you get the whole R-rating experience there with this cartoon, which is, this is not Masters of the Universe Revelation. This is not suitable for all ages. But it is an American cartoon, not to be mixed up with, anime, because at first it looked like, hey, is this, like what is this, I don't know, where is it from, who made this? And yeah, it's very American and very, very well done. I was very surprised by this show. So basically, the deal with this show is that it is a team of mercenaries. They need a job, and we first wind up meeting the 7 members of Vox Machina at a pub brawl. They also happen to have a pet bear who wears armor, and his name is Trinket. Yes, very cute. All right, so these characters, they consist of twin elves, Vex and Vax. And Vex, who is really well voiced here by Laura Bailey, I'd say, if someone's going to be the leader, I'd say it's her. She's very commanding. And Vex and Vax, they're these cunning, they're elves or they're half-elves, I guess, and they're just really great archers, they're really great fighters, they're really cunning. Everything you would expect from an elf, I guess, and a lot of arrogance, too, I guess. Percy is the human with this vengeance gun. He's had a really traumatic time, and he basically joins the team out of his thirst for vengeance to kill the people that killed his family, and we'll get into that in a moment. Pike is the short healer of the group. She has this protection power. It's called Everlight, so she's kind of like Dr. Light from DC Comics, I guess, kind of in that way. So that's very cool, and that will be useful certainly in this show. Grog is a super strong warrior who kind of reminds me of Kratos a little bit from God of War, without the beard, I guess. But he's very funny. He's meant to be the big, dumb, strong guy, but he's got a great heart. And Killith, as well, is another character. She's this mage, this woman that can cast spells, mostly dealing with like vines and plants and things that come out to help her if necessary, to save her if necessary, I guess. She seems to have like these plant-based powers, almost like poison ivy almost, but no, it's more broad than that with this character. So she's kind of still seeming to learn the ropes, or at least she's a bit nervous anyway. She doesn't always get the spells right. And then finally, Scanlan is this gnome, so another short character, and he's like a bard and really just a whore, quite frankly. He's a huge whore. He's always hitting on people. He's always like, hey, listen, I need a place to sleep tonight. Suggesting that he's going to wind up having sex with whoever that is, man or woman. He swings both ways. Good for Scanlan. So yeah, and he's kind of funny, kind of annoying at times, but he's also very funny. I think he's actually charming in the end. So it works out well. So all these characters are pretty cool. Their first mission, their first job in this series is to slay this beast, which has been killing people. It's revealed to be a blue dragon. They wind up failing miserably. But they do survive, at least, and they wind up later defeating this blue dragon, who turns out to be the man in charge of the army. So he's kind of like the general, basically, of the army here. That was the dragon the whole time. We were led to believe it's this other creepier character, but nope, it turns out to be someone else. And we also meet the Briarwoods by episode 3. We meet them. These are kind of the main antagonists of the series, I would say. We find out that all about their connection to Percy and how they killed Percy's whole family, except for his sister, Cassandra. And he thinks she's dead, but she's actually alive. And one of their allies, the Scottish guy, is really cool. He winds up telling them that she's alive, and that, obviously blows Percy's mind, and he's got to go look for her. So the only problem is that, Cassie is being mind controlled, and she has been for years, been, brainwashed by the Briarwoods. Basically, the deal with the Briarwoods here is that Silas Briarwood is, he's essentially, he's a vampire, basically. He was given these vampiric powers by somebody called the Whispered One, and that's a very enigmatic character that we only briefly see in a flashback, or here anyway. Delilah is his wife, and she's this dark magic wielder as well. So pretty cool, really interesting villains, I'd say, considering what they can do. So, yeah, typical snobby, rich, arrogant villains, I guess you could say. So we get a lot more brutal deaths as the group winds up battling these shadowy undead creatures that were controlled by the Briarwoods. They managed to escape that nightmare. I mean, it was really horrific hearing the screams of the guards as they're just completely crushed into nothing, into red paste, basically. It's like, ugh. It's pretty brutal, But at the end of this episode, Pike she winds up struggling with her Everlight powers, so she separates herself from the group to rebuild her connection to her healing powers, to this Everlight. And Cassandra is found, and she's seemingly killed by one of Percy's enemies, but brought back to life. And while Percy kills one of those names on his vengeance gun, it becomes clear that Percy is becoming darker and darker with every kill, and this is rather shocking to his teammates there. The series does wind up starting to wind down by the episode where Killith is able to kill Silas with Grog's help, and winds up killing him with this tree light power. It's like pure sunlight kind of thing, and reduces him to nothing. Delilah, his wife, of course, grieves, shouts out in pain, and she knocks people out. She knocks Percy almost over the ledge, but his sister saves him, since the mind control has now been broken. And Delilah tries to summon the Whispered One, that we kind of briefly, is mentioned in the flashback there. And Percy winds up shooting her before, she can complete it, really. So instead of getting the Whispered One, we wind up getting this spinning orb. And yeah, like, they don't really talk about that too much. We don't really know what the deal is with the spinning orb. And I don't think we're really going to find out until the next season of this show, assuming there is one. Percy is overtaken by the Vengeance Demon. He has been, denied his vengeance against Silas and Delilah, unfortunately. But he is able to overcome it, even though the demon does trick him into thinking that his friends are his enemies and all that, that usual kind of trope. But no, he winds up, breaking out of it. And Killith is also almost killed. She's almost killed by Delilah, and then Delilah is actually killed by Cassandra, and the demon, and as I mentioned, is he's defeated. It takes them a while to defeat the demon, and yeah, I mean, Killith coming back, Vax seems to have a thing for her and everything, and he was really concerned about her, and seem to be the most happy about her, coming back and everything, and then that's fine. That's a little bit of character relationship development there. Nothing wrong with that. The whole show, though, does end with a cliffhanger, with them all celebrating their victory, over the Briarwoods and the demon as well, really. But it's bad news. The red dragons are on their way. Looks like there's about 4 of them, and yeah, not good. So that's how episode 12 ends, is with these red dragons on the way to really fuck shit up. Yeah. So in summary, the Legend of Vox Machina, it was, very well done, produced by Critical Role Productions and Titmouse Incorporated and Amazon Studios. It's quite the collaboration, and they did a really, really fantastic job. I think the best thing about the show is the main cast, and a lot of the dialogue too is very cleverly written. It's kind of rises above your average animated series, I'd say. But it really is the cast again that really brings the show to life. Apparently, it's the same cast, as far as I know, from the web series, which is really cool. I didn't recognize any of the names at first, except for maybe Laura Bailey. I've heard her name before. And there are a few people that you would recognize. Certainly Gray Griffin, or Gray Delilah, whatever she goes by these days. She actually plays Delilah. And Stephen Root was one of the bad guys there. Carrie Payton as well. You'll know him from Ezekiel on The Walking Dead and Cyborg on Teen Titans and stuff. He's very recognizable as well as the ruler of this kingdom. And those are just supporting characters, but they do, those voices do kind of stand out, and you recognize them. Everyone, here, they do a really great job of bringing this whole adventure to life. It's also really funny too. There's this running gag about doors and how they always seem to, run into this door that they can't get past most of the time, and Grog and Scanlan, I mean, they're certainly the comic relief here of the show, with Grog just being like this guy with a great heart that just kind of goes for it and doesn't really think or anything. And then Scanlan's kind of very clever. He's got this kind of strange magic that he can summon this like purple hand that can save him if he falls over the edge or something, and that's cool. But Scanlan's kind of, like I said, he's kind of the whore. He's into the sexual jokes. He's always hitting on people. But no, those are really cool. And I really think that the story and the animation are very engaging here. This show really impressed me. It's not just another generic fantasy show. It's not another, kind of anime show that's been redubbed or anything. This is a straight up American show full of adult whimsy and some really interesting contemporary dialogue. You hear the word puppers and you go, what? She said puppers? Okay, sure, why not? It's a fantasy. Do what you want. Percy's story, revealing perhaps the true villain and the demon possessing him. I thought that was kind of a predictable reveal, but a good one, even though the Vengeance Gun is a bit corny, and not every episode is, knocks it out of the park. There's some moments where you're like, okay, well, that was fine, now move along, But overall, this show was a lot of fun, and I'm going to give The Legend of Vox Machina a 9 out of 10. Yeah, give it a chance, because if you look at it, and you're watching the thumbnail or something on Prime Video, and you see and you're like, another animated series, I don't care, I'm sick of seeing these all, this one's really good. This one really stands out, much like last year's Arcane, the League of Legends show. This one's really good. The animation, excellent, and the voice acting, like I said, elevates everything. This cast is wonderful, so I highly recommend this series, even though I wasn't sure I was going to like it. Glad I gave it a chance. Alright guys, this is Neil, signing off from another Hindsight spoilerific streaming review. And until next time, peace.